5 ways to flirt when you're afraid they won't reciprocate. Let's be honest. Flirting can feel like walking a tightrope, equal parts thrilling and terrifying, especially when you're not sure if the other person feels the same. It's that internal voice that says, what if I put myself out there and they don't respond? But what if I told you that flirting doesn't have to mean risking your dignity or turning into someone you're not? That you can actually flirt safely, subtly, and authentically, even when you're scared. Flirting isn't about grand gestures. It's about the small signals that say, hey, I see you, and I'd like you to see me too. So here are 5 ways to flirt when fear of rejection is holding you back. And a bonus tip that might change how you view connection altogether. Flirt with your energy, not just your words. Expand it. When most people flirting, they imagine clever lines, witty banter, or perfectly timed compliments. But the truth is, flirting begins long before any words are spoken. It's about the vibe you bring into a room, the subtle signals your body, expression, and presence give off before you even open your mouth. Energy is contagious, and when you lead with the right energy, people instinctively lean in. That's the first layer of flirting, being someone whose presence feels good to be around. The type of energy you bring tells people how to feel about you. If you show up closed off, tense, or guarded, even the most charming words will fall flat. But if you walk in relaxed, smiling, and curious, suddenly you're magnetic, not because you've said anything flirtatious, but because your energy feels warm and inviting. You become someone who is easy to approach, and that alone can make someone feel comfortable enough to respond, even if they were hesitant at first. The beauty of flirting with your energy is that it doesn't require you to be loud or extroverted. You don't have to be the center of attention. In fact, some of the most powerful flirtation comes from subtlety. A slow, calm confidence, a grounded energy is irresistible in its own way. People are drawn to someone who seems at peace with themselves, someone who radiates self-worth without needing validation. That's the kind of flirting that doesn't shout but pulls people in. Another key aspect of energetic flirting is your presence. Being present is becoming a lost art in a distracted world. But when you really see someone, not just with your eyes, but with your attention, they feel it. They feel valued. You'd be surprised how many people go days or weeks without feeling truly seen or listened to. When your energy says, I'm here, I'm listening, and I value unforgettable, even if you haven't said a single flirtatious word. Flirting with energy is also about your body language. The way you sit, how you angle your body towards someone, the way you tilt your head when they speak. These are all silent cues that say, I'm engaged with you. A slight lean forward shows interest. An open posture shows you're relaxed and confident. Even the rhythm of your breathing can shift how safe someone feels around you. When you're comfortable, they'll likely mirror that comfort. That's connection before conversation. Your smile, too, is more than just a friendly gesture. It's one of the most universal signs of warmth. But a forced smile doesn't have the same effect as one that comes from a place of genuine amusement or appreciation. The next time you find yourself near someone you're drawn to, don't think of what to say. Instead, think of what you feel about the moment and let that genuine emotion reflect in your expression. That's the energy people trust and are drawn to. What's liberating about this approach is that it removes the pressure of getting it right. You're not trying to perform or impress. You're simply showing up as someone who enjoys life, who sees value in others, and who shares that appreciation through presence and subtlety. Whether or not they respond doesn't matter as much, because the energy you're putting out is yours. It's rooted in authenticity, not outcome. That's a game changer. And finally, flirting with your energy gives you the ability to flirt without fear. Because when your flirting isn't wrapped up in clever words or risky gestures, but in warmth, confidence, and joy, then even if it's not reciprocated, you haven't lost anything. You were just being you. That kind of flirting is powerful. It's self-assured, it's attractive, and more importantly, it's safe for both you and the person receiving it. Use compliments that empower, not objectify. Expanded flirting, when done with respect and intentionality, becomes an art, and compliments are one of its most subtle brushes. But many people misuse compliments as tools of persuasion rather than genuine appreciation. A compliment that objectifies someone might get a reaction, but it rarely builds connection. The goal is to make someone feel seen, not sized up. That's why the compliments that truly land are the ones that make someone feel respected, valued, and understood, not just noticed. When you're afraid someone might not reciprocate your interest, the safest yet most powerful move is to compliment something deeper than their appearance. Most people are used to being admired for how they look, their smile, their outfit, their physique. But how often does someone hear you have a calming way of speaking, or the way you explain things makes people feel smart, These kinds of compliments leave a mark because they speak to identity, not just presentation. Empowering compliments create a sense of safety. They don't corner the other person or imply obligation. For example, telling someone you're really good at making people laugh doesn't ask for a reaction. It simply acknowledges a truth you've observed. If they're interested, they may pick up the thread and engage with you further. If they're not, they can still appreciate the moment without feeling uncomfortable. It allows them to retain agency, and that is respectful flirtation. Another powerful strategy is to compliment something they probably don't even realize they're doing. These kinds of compliments feel sincere because they require observation. Maybe it's the way they remember people's names or how they light up when they talk about something they care about. When you name something they may not hear often, you separate yourself from the crowd. You're not just flirting, you're noticing. And that's rare. The emotional impact. An empowering compliment is also longer lasting. Think about it. A comment like, "You have great eyes," might boost someone's ego for a moment, but you make people feel comfortable when they're nervous, sticks. That second compliment invites self-reflection. It gives them something new to consider about themselves, something that matters more than surface-level beauty. That creates an emotional imprint. Even if it doesn't lead to romance, it creates connection. The best compliments come from a place of curiosity and appreciation, not need. You're not complimenting someone to get something in return. You're doing it because you see something worthy of praise. This mindset shift keeps your energy grounded. Instead of thinking, "Will they like me if I say this?" Ask, "Is this something kind and true I'd want to hear if it were me?" That lens creates authenticity. And authenticity is what makes flirting meaningful. When you compliment someone's mind, values, or impact on others, you're telling them, "I like who you are, not just what I see." That can feel incredibly intimate, but in a way that doesn't pressure or pursue too aggressively. It builds interest slowly in layers, and for someone who might be cautious about returning the flirt, it gives them space to open up on their own terms. You're starting from a foundation of respect, not just attraction, and perhaps most importantly, empowering compliments build your own confidence too. Because instead of relying on charm or seduction, you're flexing emotional intelligence. You're showing yourself that you can connect with someone in a way that uplifts them, and that's powerful. Whether or not they reciprocate, you've given something meaningful. And in doing so, you've moved one step closer to the kind of connection that's actually worth your time. Flirting isn't always about making someone feel wanted. Sometimes it's about making them feel interesting. That's where playful curiosity becomes your secret advantage. When you show genuine interest in someone's thoughts, quirks, or stories, you signal that you're not just attracted to the surface, you're drawn to what makes them. And because this approach feels less risky and more respectful, it's one of the best strategies when you're afraid the other person might not feel the same. The beauty of curiosity is that it doesn't require big declarations or romantic gestures. You're simply asking thoughtful questions and listening with attention. For example, instead of asking, "Where are you from?" ask, "What's something you miss most about the place you grew up?" It's a small twist that opens up a deeper, more personal answer. You're giving them a chance to reflect and share something real while still keeping the tone light and engaging. The key word here is playful. You're not interrogating, you're exploring. Flirting with curiosity should feel like a dance, not a job interview. Questions like, "What's the weirdest girl on your bucket list?" Or, "If you could trade lives with someone for one day, who would it be?" Invite fun, imaginative responses. These aren't questions people hear every day, which makes them stand out, and the conversation with you becomes more memorable as a result. Playful curiosity also takes the pressure off both of you. You're not trying to impress them with your achievements or charm them with flashy compliments. You're showing that you find their personality worth unpacking. That approach lowers their defenses because you're not coming on strong. You're just exploring whether there's chemistry and shared values. And even if there isn't, the conversation still feels good. There's no awkward tension because you never pushed an agenda. What's especially powerful is how curiosity creates emotional safety. When you ask someone questions and respond to their answers with enthusiasm and non-judgment, they feel emotionally validated. It tells them, "You're safe here. I'm not trying to judge or manipulate you. I'm just here to understand you better." And when someone feels emotionally safe with you, their interest in you tends to grow, even if they weren't sure about you at first. This kind of connection builds naturally. You don't have to force it. Let's say you ask someone what lights them up, and their eyes sparkle when they talk about art or hiking or writing. That gives you a moment to reflect it back. You come alive when you talk about that. That moment of reflection is a flirtatious move without being too forward. It shows attentiveness, And that's a rare form of intimacy most people crave, but don't often receive. Playful curiosity also makes you more attractive because it's a reflection of your emotional maturity. When you're curious, you're not trying to dominate the conversation or talk about yourself. You're offering space. You're holding the spotlight on them, not because you're shrinking, but because you're secure enough to know the spotlight will come back around. And when it does, because people who feel understood naturally want to reciprocate that energy. And finally, curiosity creates a bridge to humor, storytelling, and inside jokes, all of which are flirting gold mines. The more personal your conversation gets in a respectful way, the more natural the chemistry becomes. And if romance isn't in the cards, you still walk away having had a meaningful, enjoyable exchange. That's the gift of playful curiosity. It builds connection without putting your heart on the line too quickly, giving attraction a safe. Let eye contact do some of the talking as expanded. There's a reason eye contact is often called the silent language of attraction, because it speaks volumes, often louder than words. A glance can spark interest, ignite chemistry, or convey warmth and confidence, all without saying a thing. When you're afraid of being too forward, eye contact becomes your safest yet most powerful tool for expressing curiosity and connection. It's subtle, respectful, and full of potential. The best part, you can always choose how long to hold it. Eye contact, when used intentionally, creates a quiet intimacy that's hard to fake. A brief, lingering look, just a second longer than usual, can say, "I noticed you," without putting the other person on the spot. It's a gentle invitation, not a demand. You're not asking them to match your energy or reciprocate feelings. You're simply opening a door. And if they want to step through it, they will. If they don't, you can break the gaze and move on. No words needed, no harm done. One of the biggest mistakes people make when flirting is either avoiding eye contact altogether or overusing it to the point of awkwardness. The key is balance. You want to use your eyes to connect. Think of it as a soft beam of attention rather than a spotlight. You're making the other person feel seen and important, not studied or scrutinized. That's the difference between eye contact that attracts and eye contact that intimidates. Genuine eye contact also communicates presence. In a world of distractions, it's rare to feel like someone is truly paying attention to you. So when you give someone your full focus, not just glancing up occasionally, but actually being with them in the moment, it creates a strong emotional impression. They remember how you made them feel valued, heard, and connected. That's an experience they'll associate with you long after the moment has passed. But it's not just about looking, it's about what your eyes say. Your eyes can smile, they can soften, they can signal safety or excitement. When paired with a relaxed facial expression or a small knowing smile, your gaze becomes an unspoken message. I enjoy being here with you. You're not putting pressure on them to respond. You're simply making your feelings available in a way that feels warm, safe, and authentic. Eye contact also gives you space to read the room. Before you say something flirty, look, do they hold your gaze when they respond? Do they mirror your expressions? Do they glance down and then back up at you? These are small signs that they're engaged and possibly open to more connection. On the other hand, if they avoid your eyes or seem distracted, it might not be the right moment to deepen the interaction. Eye contact becomes your radar, constantly feeding you subtle feedback. When you combine eye contact with silence, for example, a pause after a shared laugh, or a thoughtful moment between conversations, that's often where chemistry has room to grow. That tiny window where nothing is being said but everything is being felt is where interest becomes attraction. You don't have to rush in with the next line. Just be in it. Most people skip this step because silence makes them nervous. But learning to be comfortable in that space gives your energy a strong, calm presence. Ultimately, using eye contact to flirt is about emotional intelligence. You're showing that you can connect without taking control. You're offering attention without demanding anything in return. And that alone makes you stand out. It's rare to meet someone who can be comfortable in their own skin, even in silence. That kind of presence is magnetic. And it all starts with how you choose to look at someone and whether you're willing to let them look back. Then turn up the volume just a bit. Expanded, one of the most underrated but effective ways to flirt, especially when you're unsure if the other person is interested, is to match their energy, then gently elevate it. It's not about being someone you're not or mimicking every move they make. It's about creating comfort through familiarity. When someone feels like you get their pace, their humor, or their rhythm, they naturally relax. That's when attraction has the freedom to develop without pressure. Mirroring someone's vibe is about emotional pacing. If the person you're talking to is more reserved or thoughtful, they might not respond well to high energy, rapid fire flirtation. But if you meet them where they are, speaking calmly, Listening intently, being deliberate with your words, you're creating a rhythm they recognize. You're saying, I'm here with you. I'm not trying to speed you up or slow you down. That sense of alignment is a subtle but powerful connector. Now, here's where the magic happens. Once you've matched their vibe, you slowly turn up the volume. That might mean introducing a touch more playfulness, curiosity, or warmth into the conversation. For someone quiet, it could be adding a playful tease or asking a question that invites a deeper response. For someone energetic, it might mean matching their expressiveness, but grounding it with eye contact or intentional pauses. It's about nudging the interaction in a direction that opens doors, not slamming them open. This technique works because it's non-threatening. You're not barging into their emotional space with intensity they're not ready for. Instead, you're gently inviting them into your space, which is slightly more alive, more engaging, more intentional. It gives the other person room to say yes to you in small ways. Maybe it's a longer answer to your question, a returned smile, or even their own attempt to elevate the interaction. That's when flirtation becomes mutual. People feel safest with those who feel familiar. That's the psychological principle behind mirroring. We are drawn to what resembles our own internal state. But familiarity alone isn't exciting. That's why turning up the volume matters. You're not just reflecting their mood. You're offering something more, a slightly brighter energy, a little more spark, a touch more charisma. That contrast makes you intriguing. It suggests that being around you might actually feel good. It's also important to understand that this method allows you to gauge interest without being too vulnerable. If you match someone's vibe and then introduce a bit more energy and they rise to meet you, you know there's mutual curiosity. But if they withdraw, stay flat, or avoid engaging deeper, you've lost nothing. You are still present, kind, and in sync. You haven't overstepped or overinvested. You've simply tested the waters with grace. Another benefit of this approach is that it builds trust. When someone sees that you're tuned into their emotional state, it tells them you're paying attention. You're not wrapped up in trying to impress or perform. You're responsive, adaptable, and considerate. That's attractive in a deep, sustainable way. And it makes the other person more likely to take emotional risks around you, whether that's opening up, flirting back, or sharing something personal. And perhaps most importantly, this kind of flirting feels natural. You don't have to memorize lines or act a certain way. You just have to listen, observe, and gently guide. You're leading, but with sensitivity. You're building a bridge one matching step at a time, and then offering a little extra spark for them to follow. It's confident, it's respectful, and it keeps you firmly in control of your energy, which is the ultimate kind of power in flirtation. Redefine rejection. It's just redirection. Hasn't it expanded the biggest fears that holds people back from flirting or putting themselves out there? It feels personal. It feels like a statement about your worth, your attractiveness, your value. But the truth is, rejection is rarely about you as a whole. More often, it's about a mismatch, a misalignment of timing, interest, energy, or emotional readiness. When you shift your view of rejection from something happening to you to something working for you, everything begins to change. When someone doesn't reciprocate your interest, that's not the end of your story. It's a fork in the road, a subtle redirection towards someone or something more aligned with who you are. It's easy to get stuck thinking, what did I do wrong? Or was I not good enough? But a far more empowering question is, what truth did this reveal? Maybe it showed you that you value deeper emotional availability than that person could offer. Maybe it revealed a pattern of chasing people who give you crumbs instead of connection. It's also worth remembering that rejection is not always about a flaw. Sometimes you're simply not their person, and that's okay. You've probably met people in your own life who were great, kind, attractive, intelligent, but just didn't click with you romantically. You didn't reject them because they lacked value. You just didn't feel the right connection. The same is true in reverse. Someone not choosing you doesn't diminish your worth. It just means your story isn't meant to unfold with them. And here's the secret. When you begin to approach flirting with less attachment to the outcome, you become more confident, not less. Why? Because confidence isn't built by being accepted all the time. It's built by surviving rejection and still showing up as yourself. When you flirt or express interest from a place of inner stability, rejection doesn't shake you. It just guides you. It refines your focus. It helps you move with greater clarity and courage. In fact, some of your greatest breakthroughs may come through rejection. That moment someone doesn't respond the way you hoped might push you to question your own patterns. Why were you drawn to them? What were you hoping they would give you? Were you seeking validation, or were you truly showing up from a place of wholeness? Rejection can be painful, yes, but it can also be profoundly revealing. And with the right mindset, it becomes a teacher, not a wound. Redirection also protects your time and energy. Imagine investing months in someone who never really saw you, only to realize later that the early signs were clear. Rejection that happens early is a gift in disguise. It's clarity. It's time-saving. It makes space for the right people to show up. Every no closes a door that wasn't meant for you, so you can recognize the one that swings open without force, without games, and without emotional exhaustion. And emotionally, this mindset is freeing. You stop overanalyzing every silence, every unread message, every lukewarm interaction. Instead, you start paying attention to how people make you feel. Do they show up with the same enthusiasm you offer? Do they make space for you the way you make space for them? If not, that's your answer. You no longer need a dramatic rejection to walk away. You trust the direction life is nudging you toward, and you let go without bitterness. Ultimately, when you see rejection as redirection, you no longer fear it, you welcome it, not because it's fun or painless, but because you know it's part of the process that gets you closer to the real thing, the love, the connection, the respect that doesn't require you to prove yourself or perform. Rejection doesn't define your value, it simply defines where your energy no longer needs to go. At the heart of it, flirting isn't about trying to convince someone to like you. It's about expressing who you are without fear. It's about showing up with energy, curiosity, and confidence while staying grounded in your own worth. When you flirt with intention, not for approval, but to build connection, you start playing a different game. One where rejection doesn't feel like failure, but simply a signpost pointing you in a better direction. The truth is, real attraction is never built on pressure. It's built on presence. The small glances, the sincere compliments, the thoughtful questions, the moments where your energy quietly says, I see you and I'm here. Those are the sparks that start something meaningful. And if they don't lead to something, you still win because you showed up as you, and the right person will recognize that, not because you chased them, but because you revealed yourself without apology. So flirt bravely, speak kindly, look people in the eye, ask questions that matter. And when the moment feels right, don't be afraid to turn the volume up just a little. Not for validation, but to express your joy, your light, and your unique energy. The kind of person who flirts from self-respect, not desperation, is the kind of person who attracts what's real. Because the goal was never just to be noticed, it was to be seen, and to be seen for exactly who you are.